تنضم إلينا الآن متحدثة تاد توكس من جامعة برازيليا في البرازيل، والتي تخرجت مؤخراً بدرجة الدكتوراه في الفلسفة. سوف تشاركنا خبرتها البحثية في الفلسفة السياسية وعلم الموروئيات، ويرجى الترحيب بالأستاذة الزهراء عثمان.
So, those are the so-called the others. Indigenous people, Arab, the colonized ones, the black ones, and even women. As for that, you can tell that my research was on the philosophical thought and on the ways of life, the so-called others. I wanted to understand why the standard philosophy, the Western philosophy, is more valuable than the philosophy produced by us. Because at some point I realized that some lives matter more than others. And on my study, I called this kind of stuff the blindness of philosophy, which is the idea that philosophy is only the philosophy produced by Western people. Philosophy is when we stick to an author like Plato and Hegel and do all our research and our whole time life studying those men. I have a professor who said once to me that Plato did his master in Egypt and his doctorate in Iraq. Of course, he was joking with us, but what he was trying to say is that ideas travel, ideas get modified over time because people are always in touch. There isn't any idea that comes up without a contact with other cultures. So what he was trying to say is that the ideas Plato brought to Western was also ideas that came from countries that we call Arab now. Then I decided that if I wanted to do philosophy, I was not going to do the standard philosophy. I didn't want to spend my life studying the same stuff everyone was studying, which was studying concepts in the author's work. Like, let me see, I want to study love in Plato's book. I want to study moral in Aristotle. I decided that I wanted to be a real thinker because I had problems to solve right now. I had moral problems that was affecting me, my life, and my community, and I wasn't going to wait to have the authorization of anyone else to speak by myself, to do my research and come up with my theories. But I had a problem. A philosophical academy in Brazil doesn't authorize you to do that. You are not a real thinker till you have like 60 years, 70 years, or perhaps never, because the real thinkers are dead. And besides that, I had another problem. That is, I am a woman doing philosophy in Brazil, where we haven't got almost 10% of women in our departments, philosophy departments. So we don't get much credit, we don't get scholarships, we are not seen really. But I had a son, and it kills me the idea that he wouldn't think of his mother as a philosopher. he would think of me as perhaps a professor, perhaps someone who is a follower of someone's idea, but never as a real thinker. So I decided to take the difficult path, and I decided that I would do differently. I decided that I would come up with my theories, and I decided that I would speak for myself. In order to do that, I started reading a lot of Latin American philosophical thoughts from Africa, from Islamic points of view. And I've seen that those literature were addressing the same problem I needed to address, that was the racism in Western philosophy. And they helped me to understand that there is no way to do that besides trying. You have to read, you have to write, and it's a long path till you find your way of thinking and your way of doing a research. And those authors helped me to come up with what I call on my thesis the poetics of opacity. The word opacity was first used by a philosopher, by a Caribbean author named Edward Glissant. I have a photo of him. Okay. Edward Glissant. But what I did to that word was to transform it, to bring it to life into a theory. I did a lot of concepts, a lot of stuffs that helped me go through the racism and come up with an idea of opacity that helped me to realize what Glissant called the problem of us believing in a universal mankind. When we talk about a universal mankind, we talk about a pattern. We talk about a way of a civilization project that is not for everyone. This civilization project is for white people. And when we have that standard, we have to create the otherness. We have to make up with the word difference and put ourselves in a scale of whose lives matters more, whose thoughts matters more. And opacity helped me to understand how in modern times all of us were put in that scale of betterness and better values and not so better values. So there is some meaning of opacity that I would like to share with you, because it helped me to do my research, to do my thesis, to make it helpful for me, and I hope for everyone who's trying to address the problems of being a real author, a real thinker in modern times. And one of them is the idea that nobody can tell who you are. Nobody can tell what an Arab or a Muslim or an indigenous people are, because only we can say what we are and what we can be. Nobody can say what are the tools of your research, because only a thinker can find out those tools. And they are not ready out there waiting for you. You have to come up with them. nobody can say that research is going to fit in some problem. We cannot come up with a theory and make that theory speaks for a problem. We have to speak to the problem and see what the problem has to talk to us. And I like very much a sentence by Edward Glissant, who said that we have the right to opacity. And what he was saying is that our ideas and our existence are not for sale. We are not a product in a market for people who want to study us and see how we work, know our religion or know how we behave ourselves, because we change every time, because we have that right, and we have the right that we have the right not to be the other. We have the right not to be the different ones. And that's very important when we talk about researchers, and our way of doing it, because everyone is unique. We all know that, but when we do research, we forgot that only we can address our problems. Only we can know what can we bring to the world. So if you don't stick to it, if you don't try to do your best to ask yourself, what are my real problems? How can I address them? How can I do a research who is really impactful for my community? How not to go through the same path that everyone has done. And opacity is talking about that too. So that's the message I would like to leave to you today. We shouldn't be continually buying theories and ideas and ideologies, not because they are not good for us. They can be very suitable. We can use them. I used a lot of Plato and Heidegger and Levinas and everyone. I like it in my thesis. That's not the problem. The problem is when we forget that we have things to say, and we cannot forget that, because otherwise we cannot do anything better than what has already been done. Thank you.